Is Kendrick Lamar gearing up to create a new wave in his music of faith-based, God-based music? I think so, and I don't think he's the only one. Good evening, good morning, good night, depending on when you're watching this, or good afternoon. Okay, I don't mean to leave out the afternoons. My name is Jeremy Hecht. This is another video on my channel where we speak about hip-hop from a different angle, hopefully going into the bigger picture of things, no pun intended. One sec. I had to cough because the pun was so bad. But I just want to say, first of all, thank you to everybody who continues to support the channel. Thank you to all of my subscribers. I think we just hit 12,000 this week, so younger me would be incredibly grateful, and current me is just as grateful for all the people who are watching. But I remember wanting to be a YouTuber when I was 15 years old, and 15 years later, here we are. So I'm really appreciative of each and every person who's been supportive of this channel. But let's get right into it. So this Kendrick Lamar song, I did an initial breakdown on my channel, which was a live reaction, and I also did a bit of a breakdown on my Instagram, which I'm gonna actually clip at the end of this video, where it was what the lyrics mean, what I think Kendrick is actually intending to say on this song, and then of course we have the bigger picture where we discuss it. But I did want to bring up a different point on here that I think hasn't been spoken about when it comes to Kendrick Lamar and what he brings to the table within hip-hop, within culture, within society, and where he probably will likely be taking not only music, but where he will be taking his faith. So on this new song, which may be untitled, it might be called Watch the Party Die, it might be called When the Party Dies, maybe it doesn't have a name, but the point being, Kendrick on this song very clearly, to me, is showing that the next focus, the next focal point of his music, of his career, will be rooted in deep faith. Now, Kendrick has never claimed necessarily to be fully a religious man, but he always has talked about God in his music over the course of time. He started the new snippet with reincarnation before the Not Like Us video. You know, the entire Damn album was about God and faith and realizing God is within us as well. You know, he's talked about on Untitled Unmastered. He's talked about it, even the baptism at the end of Good Kid, Mad City. You know, there's been God all the way through Kendrick's music and throughout time. I don't mean, obviously, God has been here throughout time, but I mean, like, throughout time of Kendrick as an artist, he's had God as a constant motif. But I think what he's showing with this new song is that his next chapter will be filled with faith, and he might even take it further than he's ever gone before with it. He might take it further than many of us think he would have gone. Him mentioning Lecrae, I don't think is any sort of coincidence. Him mentioning Lecrae to me was, and D1, shout out to both of them, both Christian rappers. And when I spoke to Lecrae on the Grammy red carpet, he said that he's somewhat of a spiritual mentor to Kendrick, and that he's been having conversations with him over time where he's kind of been urging him, it seems like, to explore his faith, and that, you know, he use his power and use his voice for good. And I think with this new song, excuse me, I think Kendrick is showing the next chapter of his career, and that next chapter is going to be filled with faith and God themes. Now, will it be a full Christian album? I don't know. I could see it going there. I don't know if it's going to be there right now, but I do feel a shift. Now, before I get into the industry shift, I just want to say with this song, I believe it to be Kendrick's Heart Part 6. I know Drake stole the title, and which is why I think it was untitled on purpose. I think this was supposed to be Kendrick's Heart Part 6, where if you look at the Heart series, Kendrick gives you a glimpse into his mindset, but also a glimpse into what his next album and his next project is going to be. Whereas last album before Mr. Morale, it was all about culture, right? It was all about not subscribing to what the culture thinks, or just the internet, or just everyone around him, and not feeling the pressure to conform to what society tells him he has to think. And that was littered all over Mr. Morale. Even, him responding on that album to some of the people criticizing him for not being a vocal activist during the 2020 protest, the George Floyd protest, excuse me. I got a little bit of a cough. I feel like I just ate a spicy vodka marinara pizza with pepperoni from Prince Street in LA. It was great. Shout out to Prince Street. But, throat is a little dry. Pause. Okay. But back to, that's a crazy transition from there to go to the George Floyd protests. But let's just pause for a second. Take a breath. Clear my throat. Back to it. Okay. So when No Name was calling out Kendrick and telling him that him and Cole were basically profiting off of black trauma but not doing anything to speak up or be at protest, even though Kendrick, I believe, was spotted at a protest in person, Kendrick didn't respond on Twitter. And he had a lot of bars on that album about not being online. He's, thoughts and prayers way better off timelines, which is also, at that point, looking back, kind of a shot at what Drake did when he threw prayers up for some people in the city of Toronto. And then he referenced on Euphoria. Also, throwing up thoughts and prayers, but then also, promoting violence to some degree, or promoting a tough guy image in your music. So Kendrick does tend to give you a glimpse as to what his music is going to sound like, what his music is going to feel like to some degree. Now, the Heart Part 3, I believe, before Good Kid, Mad City, was it 3 or 2? Yeah, I believe it was 3, was kind of this intro. On there, he talks about the pressure of his debut album and wanting to make hip-hop proud and wanting it to be something that, I think he said save hip-hop on October, whatever date it dropped. I don't know if it was October 13th or something like that. And on the Hard Part 4, he actually kind of warned the industry. He warned Drake. He warned Big Sean. He warned anyone who was going to diss him, like, hey, now's your time, because I'm coming for the top spot. And with Damn, I believe he did that. He did duck off after that for years. But this I believe to be his Hard Part 6. And I believe what he's saying is he's going to go in a more Christian direction. Well, now, whether that's direct Christianity or just a godlike direction, I believe that he's going to have those themes within his music. If you even just look at the hook is a prayer. Kendrick prays to God that he's able to maintain his strength. He prays that he's able to maintain his morality, his integrity, that he's able to maintain who he has been and who he wants to be, and that he asks for forgiveness because he may have crossed some lines during that battle that he himself didn't feel super comfortable crossing. There was a lot of dark things said. It got really dark towards the end of the beef. And it would have gone darker. I think Kendrick said the rabbit hole gets deeper. I truly believe him when he said that, and that he was willing to go to places that, he said on this song, he talks about sometimes the ends justify the means with violence when he's trying to, bring down somebody for everyone is what that I'm just talking about what he's saying. He's saying he went to war. He went to war. And he's dusting off his Air Force Ones, his black Air Force Ones, the black Air Force activity, and he's reflecting on where he's at in life. But not only Kendrick, I think that there's a shift happening where more people want substance from music, and more rappers are going to be giving us that substance. I know Lecrae even responded to this with his White Air Force song. And it's funny because he has, this is my cat, Kit Cudi, if you're wondering what this little furball tail on screen is. But he basically, Lecrae is talking about how even he's viewed as a sinner. He's viewed as a sinner by some people. Some people view Lecrae as an impure Christian because he raps and he speaks about things in a different way than, traditional Christians might. And D1 got a mention as well, who has always kind of had this mindset of uniting and not wanting beef. But I even saw King Los dropped a song, and he's speaking about God on the hook. Big Sean mentions God on his album. I think that we're seeing more people, shout out to DJ Heads guy Miles Minnick, but he's a a Christian rapper who makes mainstream sounding West Coast music. I think that we are going to see a shift towards more God in music and mainstream music at that. And I think in hip hop, what we're going to see a shift towards is not only more God-like music, but more substance and more people talking about things that are real. And Kendrick on this song, what he was doing what he feels called to do in his purpose, which is making a statement that says, this is what I want to see out of the industry. He wants to be the change that he wishes to see because he knows the industry is fucked up and there's a lot of shit in there that is dark, and he knows it and he's seen it and he's maybe even participated in it to some degree. But the fact that Kendrick hops out there and says what he wants to see and doesn't want to see, I don't like that people are calling him hypocritical, because Kendrick has been the first to admit that he's a hypocrite. He has a song on To Pimp a Butterfly where he literally says, I'm the biggest hypocrite. And he means it. He means it. Okay, so Kendrick has never been shy about giving his flaws to the world, especially on Mr. Morale. I do feel like the only reason he was able to win this battle was because he gave his flaws to the world. Otherwise, Drake exposing that Kendrick cheated on his wife with a white girl would have been big news that would have actually been a bombshell in that beef. But Kendrick wasn't ready for this battle until he released that information, and that's why he purposefully did release Mr. Morale before getting into any sort of battle one-on-one with Drake. Or 20v1, depending on who you ask. But I think that's it for this section of the video. I do want to put in my lyric breakdown in here that I posted on my Instagram in case some of you guys haven't seen it. So I'm going to put that up right next. And then feel free to follow me on Instagram too if you haven't. It's at Jeremy_Hecht. I post weekly lyric breakdowns and clips from the bigger picture and interview clips, red carpets, and fun stuff too. So yeah, follow me there. But also, I do want to close by asking you guys what you think of the song, what you think of my thoughts on this. Do you think that we're headed in a more spiritual direction in hip hop? Is there going to be more God references in the mainstream? Is there an artist that you like that you think that you see doing that? Or do you want to leave that out of your music? Is that something you don't go to music for? And it's not as much of a lyric or a spiritually driven experience for you. It's more just, a vibe, and you do want to see the party continue, because I think there's moments where it's fun to party. I enjoy a lot of music that isn't super substance based, but my favorite music is the music that hits me in the soul. But that's just me. My name is Jeremy Hecht. If nobody else has told you yet today, I appreciate you. And here's my Kendrick Lamar lyric breakdown of the song and what he really means, in my opinion. And I'll see you in the next video. Appreciate you guys. Here's what people completely missed about the new Kendrick Lamar song. First of all, this wasn't a diss song, as he referenced his battle with Drake very clearly right here, and it is definitely a shot. Same with these lines right here, although, as a fellow Canadian, wishing someone gets their head cracked before going back home, can a man not fly to Canada in peace? But those calling it a diss track are completely misguided. This song was Kendrick sitting back and reflecting on the war that he just went to. But beyond the battle, this song is about the state of the culture, of hip-hop, of media, of religion, and to some degree, even humanity and society. But back to that in just a moment. The length of the song was 5 minutes and 4 seconds, which also doubles as New Orleans area code 504. After Kendrick made a Super Bowl announcement, there was a lot of people saying that Lil Wayne should have been the headliner in New Orleans, including Wayne himself. To me, this is Kendrick saying, I see all the talk, but let's focus on the bigger issues, not who's on the Super Bowl stage. Because anyone who knows Kendrick well knows that Kendrick is the biggest Wayne fan. Now, the artwork with the Air Force Ones was actually an eBay listing of a size 12 shoes, so it was not the size 7 men's. These weren't for Kendrick. That went for $70, which I'm sure will go for thousands now. They were used as a Kendrick song. But Air Force One activity, of course, represents something in itself. Putting on the black Air Forces, you're probably looking for trouble. But to me, the fact that they were worn out and dusty was Kendrick showing that he might have just gone into battle, done things that he maybe isn't even proud of, but he's hanging up his shoes, putting them down, sitting down, and reflecting on what just happened. And for those of you who think it's too much or he's overdoing it talking about this battle, we're still talking about it. The world is still talking about it. It was one of the biggest moments in hip-hop history. Of course he's gonna mention. After Drake's battle with Meek, he made an entire mixtape called What a Time to Be Alive about the battle, reflecting on it. Not to mention the countless interludes, outros, intros, and songs on his next few albums. But the most interesting part of the song to me was this part right here, where Kendrick on the hook is actually praying to God. He's praying to have his words be potent and his thoughts be clear, but also praying for forgiveness for what he just did. he doesn't necessarily feel like he's living to his moral standard by going into the mud with the battle. Some of the things that he was saying about Drake, the accusations, this isn't something that maybe Kendrick felt completely comfortable. Now, he said the result sometimes needs violence, but on the third verse here, when he questions what would Lecrae do, what would D1 do, Lecrae is a Christian rapper who, he did comment on this battle recently, saying that Drake would never be able to win because Kendrick is so of the culture, whereas Drake is merely a spectator of it. But also, when I spoke to Lecrae on the Grammy red carpet, I asked him about Kendrick, and he said he's somewhat of a spiritual mentor to him. So I'm sure Kendrick has these conversations with Lecrae. And D1, who's a Christian rapper, has been a heavy advocate for no beef at all, and said that this battle really isn't doing anything for the culture. Now, this part, Kendrick critiques the media. The radio personality pushing propaganda for salary, let me know when they turn up as a casualty, I want agony. Assault and battery, I see a new earth. Now, he could be talking about a lot of people. There are definitely streamers, podcasters, and media personalities who, no matter what's happening, will maintain the same stance. And I think Kendrick is calling out the integrity in the space. But what's more interesting to me than that is the next bar. He references, after we cleanse things, kind of like Noah's Ark flooding, there's going to be a new earth. I see a new earth filled with beautiful people making humanity work. Now, a new earth is a biblical reference, but it also is reference to an Eckhart Tolle book called A New Earth, which is a book about awakening to your life's purpose. Now, we know the role that Eckhart Tolle played on Kendrick's Mr. Morale album, but I think this is Kendrick coming to terms with what he feels his purpose is on this planet. I think spiritually and musically, Kendrick is headed in a direction where he's going to be referencing God a lot more in his music. He's always had biblical references and referenced religion and faith, but I think this was really his heart part 6. Drake might have stolen the title, but this is what Kendrick does before he drops a project. He'll let you know his state of where he's at mentally and where he's hoping to go and what the music that you'll hear is about to be. And I truly believe that Kendrick is headed in a direction maybe even closer to Lecrae. But what do you think? What do you think of the song? What do you think it was supposed to do? And why do you think Kendrick dropped it now? Also, let me know what direction you think Kendrick is going to go in musically. My name is Jeremy Hecht. I'll see you in the next video. Peace. If nobody else has told you yet today, I appreciate you.